Scott, Joe Staszak here. Thanks for hitting play, my friend. Give me 3 minutes. If at the end of those 3 minutes you don't think I belong on your morning show, hit stop. Here's the first thing I'd say if the microphone went live tomorrow morning. So I have just 2 questions today. The first one is for all the folks who've ever hailed from Boston, from Paul Revere to Sam Mayday Malone to Marky Mark to JFK. Do you like apples? Yeah. Because the Sixers just got LeBron James. How do you like them apples? Sorry, I couldn't resist. The other question I have is, why is everyone so shocked around here? Because it's Philly and deep down we don't think we deserve nice things? Well, first of all, I'm sorry to say this isn't about us. This is about what the best decision for LeBron James was, and it certainly wasn't a financial one. Get this. LeBron Raymond James, arguably the greatest NBA player ever, an argument for a different time, will be the 292nd highest paid player in the NBA this coming season. Exactly 291 players will make more money than he will. He didn't take a pay cut because he had to. He took a pay cut because he believes another championship is worth more than another $49 million. Heck, he's worth $1.4 billion. Losing out on 3.5% of that isn't going to move his needle. You know what will, though? How about another Larry O'Brien trophy for the mantle? Philly is an untapped ring source for LBJ. He's played for 3 NBA franchises and has delivered a championship to each of them. He won 2 titles in Miami, went back home and delivered his hometown a title, then went Hollywood and embedded his name on that Mount Rushmore and that historical franchise back in the COVID year. Look, the Sixers haven't won a thing in 43 years, lest I remind people. LeBron isn't ring chasing, he's legacy building. No other player in NBA history has won 4 titles with 4 different teams. You might not catch MJ, who's won 6, but 5 in 4 different cities. Well, there's something Mike never did. And in fact, no one ever has. And we have Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics for making this a real possibility, because without Jaylen Brown, this signing never happens. The Brown trade begat the LeBron signing and turned the Sixers from a team mired in NBA purgatory for the foreseeable future into one of the most dangerous starting 5s in NBA history, at least on paper. Starting 5, if you added last year's averages together, would average 123 points per game. That's insane. Again, on paper. Of course, as we all know, championships aren't won on paper. Just remember, there are no guarantees in sports. King James has played in 10 NBA finals and has lost 6 of them. Just because you have what appears to be a dream team on paper, Vince Young, doesn't guarantee you squat come June. So let me ask you this. If King James doesn't deliver the Sixers a title in the next 2 years, are you going to be okay with that? Maybe a couple trips to the finals, but the Sixers come up short. Are you going to be okay with that? Because for reasons that are unclear to me, this fan base celebrates still the early 2000 team that Allen Iverson took to the finals and lost to the Lakers. And we seem to have a thing for the second place 1993 Phillies, who came up short to Joe Carter and the Blue Jays. Because here's what I think, and let me be perfectly clear. This isn't one of those, it's about the journey, not the destination situations. If the Sixers don't win a title with LeBron James, then this process will go down as just as big of a bust as the last one did. And why is that, you may ask? Sorry, Scott, I may have fibbed just a little bit. I need a little bit more time. I have some more things to say and needed a costume change. Because it's only a 2-year window for the Sixers. In just 56 days, they've gone from a big 2.5 to a big 5. Who does that? The model has always been build a big 3, fill in some pieces, and you've got a chance. But a big 5? Yeah, that'll work. Only thing is, like I said, it's a 2-year window. Now, I know we'd all like to think we're the smartest people in the room. All I know is when I'm the smartest person in the room, chances are I may have gotten there a little earlier than everybody else, or maybe it was a light meeting, but it's kind of the way it goes. I don't claim to know everything, but I do know this. One of the hardest things to do in sports isn't to hit a baseball. It's winning a championship. A million things have to go right. And you might need some help from others along the way. Do I need to remind everyone about when LeBron joined forces with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami, and that circus show, introductory lights and laser side spectacle, not one, not two, not three. Yeah, here's a tip, LeBron. Don't do that. It's just bad business, bad karma, it's a bad look. And oh yeah, you got to the finals and blew a 2-1 lead to the Mavericks that year. All told, that South Beach Dream Team only won 2 titles in 4 trips to the finals and needed a miraculous loose ball tap from Chris Bosh and a Hail Mary 3-pointer from Ray Allen to stave off elimination long enough to beat the Spurs in overtime that night in Game 6 and then again in Game 7 to barely get out of Dodge with 2 titles in 4 trips to the finals. To this day, Greg Popovich still laments and talks about that nightmare, and he's going to take it to his grave, that awful finish in Game 6, which would have been a 6th ring added to a jewelry box of 5 when all is said and done. Let's not forget about the OKC Thunder, Wemby and the Spurs, and oh yeah, those Nova Knicks who buzzsawed everybody and everything in their way, on their way to their first title in 53 years a couple of weeks ago. It is hard to win one championship, let alone multiple titles. Over the last 8 seasons, 8 different NBA teams have won championships. And not only have none of them repeated as champs, but none of them even got back to the finals the next season to defend their title. That's why it drives me crazy when I watch the guys on like Get Up on ESPN this morning even talking about if Aaron Donald does return to play for the Rams this season, you can almost save everyone the suspense and coronate them right now. Are you serious? Have none of you watched sports for the last 50 years? And not just one, but all of them to a man said that this morning. Until the KC Chiefs won back-to-back titles recently, no NFL team had repeated as champs since the Patriots did it back in the early 2000s. Just think about that. As good as Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were together for 22 seasons, they went through a stretch of 10 years when they didn't hoist a Lombardi, including that 18-0 team with Randy Moss, 12.5-point favorites over the Giants in the Super Bowl in Glendale. And what happened? How about the greatest show on turf, going for back-to-back championships, 14-point favorites over a second-year Brady with back-to-back titles on the line? And what happened? How about the Seattle Seahawks in 2014, just 1 yard away from a repeat? And whoops, Russell Wilson throws a pick to Malcolm Butler in the end zone. Ball game, same result. So many things have to go right to win an NBA championship or a Super Bowl or any championship of any kind. And how about your team, your town, your Philadelphia Eagles knocking the slobber out of those KC Chiefs 2 years ago with almost everyone coming back, the league's top running back, top defense, Super Bowl MVP QB, the best offensive line in the game. And what happened? They couldn't get past a severely banged up 49er team at home despite winning the turnover battle by 2. That's why I think it's opinion malfeasance to say that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are both on the hot seat this year. It's a prove-it season for both. Excuse me? Prove what? Are you out of your minds? It might be the worst narrative I've ever heard. And I said that in my latest article. And it's not just me who thinks it's ridiculous. I sat down with former Eagle Seth Joyner, and I asked him what he thought of that idiotic narrative.
Well, listen, Joe, I would say, how can you even begin to have that conversation, that dialogue, given, how hard it is to find a capable coach that can win games damn near at a 70-75% clip?
Guys, this is an easy one. Don't overthink it. Saquon Barkley dropped the ball and it cost the Eagles the game. The end. This isn't the Warren Commission. I don't need to subpoena witnesses or mob informants or the Secret Service or pull those Buddha tapes. Saquon Barkley dropped the ball on a 3rd and 3 that would have ended the game and sent the Birds to the Bayou undefeated. It's that simple. This wasn't an epic loss. It was an epic choke job. Barkley choked, and so did his quarterback. And I'll get to QB1 in a bit. So a quarter of the season now in the books for the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, they play 17 games, but close enough. They are sitting at 2-2. No need to panic, folks, just yet, right? Anyone panicking just yet? Okay, yes, I think there's something intrinsically wrong with this team, but the NFL is a week-to-week proposition. Just ask the Jets, who lost to the Broncos at home, albeit in terrible weather, but with a Hall of Fame quarterback who put up 9 points versus a rookie quarterback who threw for 60 yards and put up 10 points. Although as a Birds fan, I really don't care what anyone else does. It only matters what the Eagles do week in and week out. Yes, it was an absolute disgrace on Sunday in Tampa. Probably the worst beatdown in the league this past Sunday. So scene set, let's go back to Sunday afternoon. Halfway through the second quarter, the Eagles were down 24-0 and didn't have a yard of total offense. 254 yards for the Bucs over here, 0 for the Eagles over here on this side of the column. They were completely unprepared and looked and played like they were completely unprepared. So things would have gone a lot smoother had the officials been on their game. But Sirianni did pass up the PAT, and that's on him. And he put the call in the hands of the referees. And if you want to win games in this league, you never leave it in the hands of the officials because they're human, and I think they're awful. Even the good ones. Look, I think there are many of you out there who just don't like Nick Sirianni. That's it, plain and simple, for whatever reason. So when he does something that blows up or is too aggressive or maybe just plain aggressive that doesn't work, then people out there, and you know who you are, who don't like him are just going to pounce. Maybe it's because he's not a rah-rah guy. Maybe you don't like his haircut or the things he says at the podium or that he doesn't always comport himself like most other head coaches. Well, I would say this to those out there who think that you really need to get over what he says. All right? Who cares? Concentrate on what he does. Who cares what he says? That's all an ego thing. That's how you're getting your emotions all tangled up. Because, that was unattractive that he said. He's not great at the podium. He hasn't been great at the podium since day one, all right? Not getting much better. That's not his strong suit. And that's too bad because, like him or not, he's the winningest active head coach in the entire National Football League, having coached at least 50 games or more. 40-19 is his record. He has more games over 500 than he has losses. 21 games over 500 to just 19 losses. His record is better than Mike Tomlin's, better than Mike McCarthy's, better than Matt LaFleur's, and even better than Andy Reid's. And I'm just wondering, why is it that I always have to be the one to deliver the truth? Now, I'm not one to say, I told you so. Oh, wait. Yes, I am. I wrote a story before last year's wild card game with the Eagles about the overrated Jordan Love. Man, if I could have sold him short before that game, I'd own like 6 islands right now and no one would ever see me again. Love played one dynamite game on the road in the playoffs against the Cowboys, and his team anointed him as their savior, their franchise quarterback, a gunslinger good enough to be mentioned in the Lambeau lineage with the likes of the Favres and the Rodgers and blah, blah, blah. That win over the Cowboys was a long time ago. Love hasn't won a playoff game since. And not only that, he threw 3 picks against the Birds in last year's playoff game. But hey, a pretty sound win over the Lions in week 1, and the Pack is now the team by which all teams should be judged, right? No, they're 4-2-1. They lost to the Browns because of a late, ill-advised pick by Love. They put up 40 points against the Cowboys and didn't win. And they just dumped a home game as 2 touchdown favorites to the Carolina Panthers. What am I missing?
Down to the NovaCare complex in South Philadelphia. Joe Staszak with the latest on the Eagles. Joe.
Well, Shredder, defense is the top priority tonight for these Eagles. Their secondary gave up 27 touchdown passes last season. Look for them to move up tonight to possibly take a cornerback or a safety in the first round. And with Sheldon Brown having been recently traded to the Browns and the tenuous health of Ellis Hobbs, a cornerback might be the way the Eagles go in the first round tonight. But certainly don't rule out the possibility that Big Red takes a lineman tonight. Andy Reid loves to build from the inside out. Now, a report has just surfaced on ESPN.com that has the Eagles and Giants in trade discussions for Giants defensive end OCU Manura. Doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense having the Giants trade him in the division to the Eagles, but with the Eagles having traded Donovan McNabb recently to the Redskins, I guess, Shredder, all bets are off tonight. Let's go back to you.
But let's start with Mr. Orange and Black himself, Joe Staszak.
Hey, guys, the Stanley Cup will be in the Wachovia Center tonight, but the Flyers, they certainly don't want any parts of looking at that thing tonight. They are facing elimination for the 6th time this season, but they are a perfect 5-0 so far if you include the season finale, a shootout win over the Rangers. Final morning skate here at the Wachovia Center this morning. Michael Layton, all signs point to him as the starter in goal tonight for the Flyers. He was pulled in Game 5. He was also pulled in Game 1, but he is the guy in net for the Flyers tonight. The Flyers, of course, they know this situation all too well. They've been here before. A win and they move on, a loss and they go home.
Across the street, the Phillies are home, cooking 5-2 on the homestand, entering a 3-game set with the Braves tonight. Jason Worth hitting .462 on the homestand, a 3-run homer yesterday to start the scoring, a 3-run homer tonight to start the scoring in the third, number 6 for Worth. Big day in college football and a big one for Penn State in Tuscaloosa, taking on Alabama, the national champs. The first meeting between the two schools since 1990. Rough start for the Knits, though. First quarter, second drive. Bama's Greg McElroy to Kevin Norwood. And there he goes. Whoop! 7-0 Crimson Tide. Tough night for the freshman Robert Bolden. 13 for 29 for $144, but a pair of picks. 4 turnovers tonight for Penn State. This one led to another Bama score. The Tide rolls Penn State tonight 24-3. But the game ball of the day has to go out to Michigan quarterback Denard Robinson. A school record 502 yards of total offense, 258 on the ground, 87 yards here for the score. But he needed just 2 with 27 seconds left to push Big Blue past the Irish today, 28-24. On the local scene, Villanova all over Lehigh, 35-zip, and Delaware beat South Dakota State 26-3. And it was 35 years ago today that the Flyers last sipped from hockey's holy grail. They beat the Buffalo Sabres to repeat as champions in a series that was most remembered by a strange fog that fell to the ice in overtime of Game 4 in Buffalo, a fog that left the Flyers in a haze and the series tied at 2 games apiece.
At times, all I could see was from the waist up.
If you didn't stay close to the puck carrier and he was on your team, you'd never get a pass.
The only way I could judge a shot was by the motion of the stick.
How we even played out there, guys skating around in sheets trying to raise the fog, and Bernie's trying to stop the French connection.
That's how we lost the game. You know, they by a shot from my left hand side, I couldn't see it, and it went by me, and bingo, it was over.
But when the fog had lifted, the Flyers got it back together, winning Game 5 at home to take a 3-2 series lead, setting up a clinching game in Buffalo, a Game 6 that would be scoreless until the third, when Bob Kelly would break the ice and settle a score.
Back in those days, we didn't skate by the bench and tap everybody's glove like they do today. I went directly to the bench and said, Freddie, you owe me $5, because we had practiced that drill many, many times in practice, and the winning guy got $5.
$5 might have been a lot of money for head coach Fred Shiro back in those days, but money well spent, because 1 goal was plenty for Bernie Parent. 2 goals would certainly ice the game. Enter Bill Clement.
We knew. I mean, when the Hounds scored, we were that close to winning our second Stanley Cup, and I knew if I scored, I could pretty well clinch it. Time seemed to slow down. It was one of the few times in my career that time just seemed to slow down, and I actually, and I say this, guy laugh about it because there were so many other times when I panicked. I actually knew exactly what I was doing on that play for one of the few times in my entire career.
The Flyers have won the second in a row. The Flyers have won their second consecutive Stanley Cup.
A 2-0 victory, and the Flyers had their second straight Stanley Cup. Not bad for a team in just their 8th year of existence.
We're not talking about winning a game, winning a series. They're talking about winning a championship. Wow. You know, that I'm very grateful, you know, to have been part of that.
But it was a fabulous couple of days for us.
And you talked about the weekend that was a very emotional weekend for you guys. That huge last-second win against Penn State, and oh so close last night, minutes away from going to the Sweet 16. Describe, I guess, just the range of emotions for you.
Yeah, we were down early in the game.
I'd be remiss if I did not ask you about Juan Fernandez. Huge bucket to win the game against Penn State on Thursday. The lane violation in the first overtime. Again, like you say, things like that happen. He's one of the leaders of your team. What's going through your mind at such a critical stage, giving up a critical point like that?
You know, you weren't sure it was going to turn out as important as it may have. So we will miss him, but we're moving on, and we'll see what we can do next year.
Okay, I have to ask you, because you're a human, very well liked in the basketball community, in the media, with the fans, but you had to have heard the things, the 11 straight losses. You finally got over that on Thursday. They call it the monkey on the back. Did you feel any of that?
Well, I would be lying if I said I didn't.
Hey, Flyers living on the edge, facing back-to-back elimination games, but they would have to take care of business in Game 6 first to get to a Game 7 with the Sabres. Peter Laviolette said yesterday they'll find out what they're made of today. And you know what Chris Pronger is made of? He was back in the lineup today, and Michael Leighton got the start in goal. Third different goalie to start in this series for the Orange and Black. The move worked last year, but it backfired today. Just 2 minutes in, Rob Niedermeyer, short side high, 1-0 Buffalo. Then a few minutes later, Thomas Vanek on the power play. Leighton whiffs. And just like that, the Sabres had a 2-0 lead. Shaky start for Leitz. But the Flyers respond. Danny Briere, fourth goal of the series, cuts the lead in half. But in the final minute of the period, Sabres power play again. Vanek again through his legs and through the 5-hole. 3 goals on 8 shots. Flyers down 3-1 after 1. That was all from Michael Leighton. It's a banner day for Mike Missanelli over at 97.5 The Fanatic as he lassoed Eagles president Joe Banner in for a radio interview to get to the bottom of Banner's baffling comments last week that the Eagles and the Steelers have had similar success during the Andy Reid era. So let's take a look once again. Under Andy Reid, the Eagles have gone to the playoffs 9 times versus 7 for the Steelers. Both teams have gone to 5 conference championship games. The Steelers have gone on to 3 Super Bowls, all in the last 6 years. And of course, more importantly, they've won it twice, while the Birds still have no rings to speak of in their jewelry box. Time now for a mic check with Mike Missanelli. Mike, at the end of a prize fight, the one left standing, dancing around, is the winner. How'd Joe Banner do today?
I think I smacked him around a little bit, but I think he emerged, and I love the Banner Day. That's clever, Joey.
But you also asked him about his definition of insanity, Mike. We all know what that is. Joe Banner has gone on record stating as such. So if he believes in it, why is Andy Reid still here?
Well, he says that he thinks Andy Reid is the best candidate right now.
Well, it was 25 years ago that Villanova shocked the world when they beat Georgetown for the national championship back on April Fool's Day, 1985. It is considered to be one of the greatest upsets of all time. The Cats were nearly perfect that night, shooting almost 80% from the field as they pulled off the perfect upset over the defending national champions.
Grab your bag of popcorn and step on inside the Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky.
I think one of the best things that happened to us was that we were playing Georgetown that night, because we knew we could compete with them.
They're stationing Pinckney out away from the basket. Here's Jensen's first shot, and he's on the money. He's a key man for Nova tonight.
No question, making that first one, I was there. I was settled at that point, and then I was in the zone.
Wesley comes inside, gets the high, got the roll. Everything's falling.
Playing against Georgetown was almost the equivalent of closing your eyes and shooting at best, because they just defensively were that good.
Thompson may have made a tactical error by letting Villanova pull it out. Oh, the field goal and through the foul.
We almost got to the point, I think, in the second half where we expected it to go in. You know, we just felt that good about running our stuff and getting good shots that we weren't surprised when the ball was dropping.
He is just filling it up. Broadnax having to help out inside. Jensen puts Villanova ahead.
It was in rhythm. My feet were set. I was square to the bucket. Nobody was covering me. When I let it go, I knew it was going in.
Not until the very, very end of the ball game, when Dwayne is actually on the floor and the clock expires, are you relieved.
When I let it go and I saw Dwayne with the ball, then I knew, and then it was a matter of a second or two and the clock. But And then it was euphoria at that point. Then it was, yeah, we shocked the world, but we kind of knew inside that we could do it.
25 years ago tonight, guys, and keep in mind, Villanova was an underdog in all 6 games of that tournament, and in that Georgetown game, they missed just one shot in the second half.